Hey guys, it's James here again, and today we have the Sig Sauer P320. Now this in the real world is the gun that's just taken over for the US military's secondary weapons, taken over from the Beretta 92. And a little bit of a background, in sort of the real world, this is a fully modular pistol. You can change whether you want a compact frame, compact FDE or black, whether you want a full-size service pistol, which is this one here. And then you just drop in your trigger group into whatever setup that you want. Now, obviously being an air gun, we don't have the full kind of detail as such, but we do have a really nice replica, obviously made for Sig Sauer by sort of a third party, but distributed by Sig and in the UK, Highland. So we'll start off with spec and give you a quick run around with the gun, try and show you a little bit more close up, and then we'll move on to shooting. Okay, so features on this gun. Now, it is fairly limited. As I say, it's licensed trademarks, all that good stuff. However, because the slide only functions with the blowback, you don't get your slide release catch, which is on this side of the gun just here. You don't have a functioning takedown lever as well, so you can't field strip it. So for the realists out there, you can't really do much there. Now, one thing you do have, obviously, is the magazine release catch, and it's sprung loaded, so the magazine does pop out. If you watch the end of the video, you can watch me drop it on the floor. But that works. Also, as well, you do have a safety catch on the side here. Now, don't quote me on this. I'm not 100% certain you have a safety catch on the real 320, but it is here. And it is usable with just a single thumb action. So if you've got the safety catch applied and you're in a shooting position, you can literally just slip it forward with your thumb and you're ready to shoot. So that is something that you've got there that you can use. But apart from that, as I say, you are fairly limited on features. Now the sights are fixed as well, so you notice that they are just fixed point sights on here. They work, they don't need to do any more than that really. So, they provide accurate shooting. So anyway, we'll move on, show you a little bit more of the pistol, and then we'll go on and do a shooting test. Okay, so stats. Everybody loves a good stat or two. Now this is a full-size replica of the 320. It is a blowback, so the slide does move every time you fire, obviously to simulate recoil. It's not open breech, so it is, you can't lock it back or anything, but it does recoil, and it gives quite a nice strong recoil as well. Now it's fully licensed, so you've got all the trademarks everywhere where you'd expect to see them. So on both the left and the right hand side, you do get your trademarks. They're as accurate as they can be. Obviously, I've never used a real P320, but from a bit of research online, everywhere where you'd expect to see a trade on the real steel, you find on the replica. Now, it's a double action trigger to start with. Obviously, as the slide recoils back, it's quite a heavy trigger. Now, the reason for that is, we'll go on to the magazine in a moment, but every time you pull the trigger, it's indexing the belt around. So it is going to be a little bit heavier, but it's not heavy to the point that you can't shoot accurately. But it's not the same as a single action per se. So let's move on to the magazine. Okay, so the magazine. Now, to conform with YouTube's new policy, I'm not really going to tell you much about the magazine because they've changed the rules with what is deemed as high capacity and all that assault rifle rubbish that liberals seem to be whining on about at the moment. So it does have a magazine. It is a stick magazine. If you want to see more information about said magazine, feel free to go over to our Facebook page. I'll put a bit of an article up there later on, and that will be active. I'll pin it to the top or whatever, and you'll be able to see it. But I can't really show you too much to do with this one, unfortunately, because, yeah, I can't. So anyway, we'll move on, loading the CO2. Okay, so loading the CO2. Now, a lot of the Sig pistols, if you've got the 226 before, follow a very similar setup. Now, for anybody who's unfamiliar with these guns, it uses a 12-gram CO2 cartridge. Nice and easy to get hold of. Very, very cheap as well, so it's quite sustainable if you want something to plink and have a bit of fun. But anyway, to load the CO2 is really simple. You take the cover off the back just by lifting the plate up on the bottom, and it just hinges off. The CO2 then goes on the inside here, and then you tighten up the tab that's included on the bottom. Now the joy with this and using this tab system is that you're not worrying some of the other guns where they use sort of Allen keys. You might forget them, you might not. Well, it's an integral part of the gun, you can't lose it. So it's there to be used. So once you've done that, all that's really left for you to do is obviously to put the magazine in the pistol and have a bit of a shoot. So now that we're all loaded with gas, and obviously we've got the magazine loaded as well, we're going to put a target out. I'm going to stand about 10 yards away. For me, this is a plinking pistol, so I'm not going to go long range. I'm not going to do match grade kind of precision. For me personally, if it can hit a can at like 10-15 yards, that's pretty much all I want. So we'll set the target out on the hedge behind, and yeah, see what this gun's capable. So let's crack on with the fun bit. Okay, so we've got the magazine loaded up. I'm going to fire 10 rounds at the target behind, which is roughly about 10 yards. Now, I've put a video over on our Facebook page. If you want to search that, simply search Replica Reviews, showing the magazine in detail. But as I say, due to their new policy with high capacity magazines, I can't show you much to do with this because I don't really want to get the channel shut down. So say, I've got 10 rounds loaded up, and I could possibly fire it 3 times 10 before I have to reload. So anyway, we'll fire off, have a bit of fun. Doesn't do anything. Okay, so that was 10 rounds, magazine's out, let's go and inspect the target. Okay, so most of these are actually roughly where I was kind of aiming, i.e. at the target. There's one slightly low down here, but most of them are actually gone relatively during the centre. Now, I'm not an amazing pistol shooter, so that's going to reflect on the gun slightly. However, I'm happy enough with that. So what we're going to do is we're going to fire off a few more rounds to see what the overall group is. And yeah, let's go from there. Okay, so that's pretty much done with the 320. Now, as you see from the test there, for plinking, for just having a bit of fun, it is a really good little pistol. Now, for anybody that wants to know, obviously with the magazine that holds a certain amount of ammunition, how many shots do you get per CO2? Now, we just did a whole magazine worth of rounds. Fairly rapid-ish. You saw us shooting, you knew how quick we were shooting, and we got 30 rounds of pellets fired before it started to drop off. We then got a further 15 or so before things really started to slow down. Now, one thing that I will say just before we go on to the conclusion is obviously the way that this gun works. It's not like some of the 1911s where if you fire it when it's low on CO2, you can poke the round, the BBs out with a stick or whatever. Just bear in mind, if you run this gun into the ground, you cannot get into the action. Now, for anybody that's fired like the Gammo P320s, a real cause of issue is where you fire it until it's way too low on CO2 and the pellet then gets stuck between the magazine and the breech. And then when you take your magazine out, it doesn't come out because you've jammed it. So just bear that in mind. If you notice it's starting to shoot low or it's running out of air or puff or whatever you want to call it a day. Take the magazine out, shoot off the last few rounds, just, blatting away or whatever. But do not fire it low on CO2 because you will jam it up and it will ruin your day. One final thing that we did also notice when we were shooting, the trigger reset on this. Now, for anybody that wants to shoot very quickly, you want to go like that. You do have to kind of think about what you're doing. Now, I'll try and demonstrate this as best as I can. Hopefully this will stay focused. Now, the trigger reset. So we're firing. Trigger is broken. Now listen for the reset. There. That was the reset. Now, if I take my finger off the trigger, you'll notice it doesn't move. So the reset is basically at its first resting point. So if you're firing really quickly and you just want to go ding, 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 like that, you've really got to release the trigger to bring it forward to shoot. So what you might find is you'll fire and then you'll go, oh, I'm firing again, and it won't go off. But again, that's due to the really long reset on this pistol. Now, once you're used to it, it's not a problem, but something to bear in mind. Okay, so now that train has disappeared off, we'll do the conclusion. Now, overall, I'm a little bit split with the Sig pistols. Now, those of you that will know the Facebook page, etc., will know that I did have the 226 as well, and I never reviewed it because I really didn't like it. Now, from a realism point of view, this gun is lacking a lot. Now, it's a really nice weighty replica. When you pick it up in your hand, I mean, even John that's with us today picked it up. It's a nice weighty gun, and that was the first comment that really came out. As an air pistol, it's a very nice air pistol. There's strong recoil, it's accurate-ish, you know, as much as a pistol's ever going to be. But you don't get that realism, so I can't load it back, I can't bring up the slide release, I can't strip it, I can't do all that good stuff. The magazine is a stick mag, not a full-size dropout. But that's not what this gun's for. This gun isn't meant to appeal to that kind of market, to me being a picky so-and-so, so to speak. This is basically just going to be a good pistol. As I say, as pistols go, it's solid, it's accurate, it's good on CO2, it's got a really interesting magazine system. Price point, it's expensive, but I think it's worth it. I wouldn't have any qualms paying for it. Again, as I say with all our videos, this gun is something that I've bought myself with my own money, from my own overtime. And I would buy it again. Now there are different versions. You get the black, they do the FDE as well, which is like this weird funky green colour. So you know, if that's more your preference, you can get FDE. If you want to find out more, obviously feel free to check out Sig Sauer's website. I'm sure there's stuff on there. Highland Outdoors, I know their website's pretty good as well, so it will be on there as well. And yeah, as I say, Facebook, I will go more into the magazine. However, due to the new YouTube policy and their ridiculous, wow, it is what it is, I can't show it here. If you've got any questions, any comments, anything you want to kind of ask, feel free to put them in the box below. If you want to see more from us, feel free to subscribe as well. The channel's growing, there's more stuff coming on. Again, air guns, rifles, shotgun, big caliber stuff, all sorts. So feel free to check that below as well, the little subscribe button, and also the channel if you want to have a look at what else we've done. But as I say, any questions, any comments, put them in the box below. But until next time, guys, thanks for watching.